Hi, this is Divine. Thank you for tuning in again. I wanted to continue my series of videos to talk about healing and overcoming your situations, whether you were a targeted individual like I was, or you were dealing with health issues, which apparently I was too, or it was created health issues, or you naturally have health issues, whatever you is may be. You have power to empower yourself in certain areas of your life. And I wanted to bring back the focus on the parts where you can empower yourself. So going back to my previous videos, I was explaining the duality of this world, this time-space reality as divisions. That's not we have evil, we have spirits, we have separate bodies. They function differently. Um, we have the dense physical world while we're spirits and we're supposed to be light body, love, and you have this existence that is very dense and fear-based. And demons can attach to you, which is where the some people say you need for training, kind of like when you go to the gym, you need that force, you need the weights to weigh you down so you can become stronger. That's a very old mentality. And the closer we are as a society, as humanity, as a species, or as human race, to closing the gap between a three-dimensional world to a five-dimensional world, a fifth-dimensional world, the further from the truth that concept is. So, for your body, you lifting weights does make you look better, but there is a concept of you won't be muscular, but you can still look good physically without lifting weights. You can still have a healthy body without lifting weights, without having that um weights to weigh you down, without having that resistance. So to go against. It's kind of like also the metaphor about the diamond in the rough. You forge it and then it shines bright. That's a very old mentality. And as we grow as a species, we go further and further away from that necessity. As in, the closer humanity goes into unification, the process of unification, which is the process of transmuting duality, then we go into almost immediate creation, which is what we're seeking to do. Remember who we are. We are God universe experiencing this world, and we don't like it very much, right? Because it could be so much better. It could always be better, and we're so slow to grow and move forward, and we get so easily stuck on hate, jealousy, that we forget to try to uncover and discover when this that we bring. However, you want to express it, that goes into individuality. How you express the gift, that's your individuality. But as you do have a gift, those are facts. Everybody comes with a gift. Something that he can give, if not you, that you can give to make society better, if not you wouldn't be here to begin with. And then the ultimate challenge, I guess, as a human being, is to not only uncover that gift, is to battle your own other human beings to uncover this gift. Because apparently certain human beings came here to make sure you won't uncover those gifts. And while they say they were necessary for your journey, no, they were not necessary for your journey. Remember, we have choices to make. They chose to make it into their journey, therefore, kind of forcing it upon you. and then you can get away from that um situation, or I should say you to get away is not physical get away, it's energetically getting away, removing yourself from that kind of energetic loop, or you can stay. So you alone do not create your reality. You create most of your reality because most of your reality is your own choices. But we do share workplaces with people. We do live with other people. We do have family, and we're each all individual people trying to live a life together. So there will be things that are different, which is what makes us unique. Everyone's unique in their own form, but we co-create with each other. That's the better term. We co-create. So it's not that in their minds they think you needed a villain, but that's not true. That's because they're not acquainted with unconditional love or true connection or Christ. They can be religious. They pray to Jesus Christ all day long, but they don't necessarily embody Christ in them, right? That's another form of footing for the religious. Um, I don't know. Another form would be, demonic possession, which is, the disbelief in love and unity, but rather that chaos and being evil is necessary, and creating that again, that romanticizing evil, romanticizing darkness. And then there's the difference between the shadow work, which is working with your own inner darkness. We all have it. But to go to the process again, transmuting duality and unifying light and darkness for the same purpose. And another word, the way I process things is, for example, demonic possession. A lot of times it's just the person who's so far away from love, unity, unification, Christ being, that they act like they're possessed by a demon. And it's exactly how they act. They make horror movies based on true stories. The big things that actually happen, because sadly, it does happen. And then you have other beings, other humans trying to exist in light, and then they forget, or they go so far from fear and jealousy and the shadow work that they forget their shadows, and people carry shadows, and they become victims of these people with lower vibration. The money possession, whatever you want to call it, people who are in their evils and their evils are extremely agitated, and they need to find a victim because they can't bring themselves accountability that they are accountable. They don't want to put themselves, it's like criminals. They don't hold themselves accountable. That's why we need law enforcement to hold those people accountable, because they don't have the self-awareness of accountability. So, like certain people, they don't need laws to know what's wrong and right. Where other people, if you don't have laws and law enforcement, they will wreak havoc in society. So we're not the same, is my point. And what differentiates us from those kinds of people is your internal work, your inner work. So many of those people are religious. That's why I'm against religion, because it became a title that you say, I'm Christian, Jewish, whatever you are, and therefore I'm a good person. That is not mean you're a good person. Being a Christian doesn't make you a good person. It just means that you're clinging to religion for protection. And here's again, when the guy expresses in any way, I am completely against religion for that matter. Religion does not give you the character, embodiment of Christ, or the embodiment of those beliefs make you a better person and gives you a higher character. And again, the difference between those kinds of people lost in their egotistical delusions and their egotistical loop, the never-ending battle because they're too childish, to find a resolution. And in the battle between, if you do this, I'm gonna do this even more, and then it just escalating, right? Look at the wars we have today. It's an escalation of egos at the end of the day. Because leaders, they're not real leaders. If they're puppets, they're putting on this show when everything is already set in the MAGA doors and the MAGA room because they need to make money out of those wars, and they add something disciple because that gives people that so illusion. It's so entertaining, yes, and it makes people fight amongst themselves. And therefore creating the illusion of separation when it is an illusion. But people at, at the general level, they don't see that. They don't realize everything is one, so they're still stuck in the illusion of separation, which is an egotistical loop that's never ending. So when someone puts on a show to egotism and all those characteristics they can relate to, it creates that emotional attachment to what's happening. And that's how people, the leaders, can gather support for terrible things such as war, etc. That's how narcissists gathers flying monkeys to support stalking someone, which becomes the game stalking activity. It always starts with a narcissist. That's why it's important to develop these names so we can identify and communicate more clearly about what's happening and how we can overcome it. And then there will always be problems. Why? There are always egotistical beings that cannot get over their small egos. And because we live in this time-space reality where it's about duality and not everybody can go and transmute the duality into unification, the unification of the body, the soul, the mind, the yin and the yang, the unification of darkness and light, where they don't cease to exist separately. They still exist separately, but they are working together towards the same common goal. It's unification, not disembodiment. They are still two different bodies. There is the body of light and the body of darkness. But the unification of those two forces come together for one purpose. And when you're just watching your ego, and that's what the ego death is not like your ego die and you don't have an ego. It's that your ego surrenders and begins to trust your higher power and understands that it's not the main character, but rather a general of an army. That's how I see it. You internalize and you decide how it is for you, but that's how I internalized it. And named it. It must be a way that it makes sense for me. You have to create your own internal processes that work with you, your essence, your being. And I have to make things very logical because it's more efficient. So I can digest, the information, can apply it because you have to be able to apply in a physical level, in a slower, more dense existence. What light and love is to embody it in such a fearful, dense existence with other people who don't understand things maybe as clearly as you do. But while co-creating lives together. That's through relationships or co-creation. We have many of those. And so having understanding and trying to always be the bigger person will get the attraction of psychopaths because they will look at you like easy victim. And then that's why I say the unification of both light and dark is important because you're gonna need the darkness to put them in their place and remind them you are not a victim. You will do something about it. So you need to not just exist. That's why I my last video about denial. Denial is terrible for you. I highly recommend you stay away from denial and lying to yourself. You need to be truthful with your situation and come together with your darkness and light. The embodies, right? Your embodiment. You even you have your physical self, your emotional self, your spiritual self, you have darkness. You have all these forces that is you because you're part of a piece of eternity in this body, in this time space reality that's very visible. Trying to bring about unification as a form of existing in this world as the eternal being without falling for the illusion of your physical body and remembering that you're way more than just this body and remembering your true essence. So you don't exactly need the resistance. That's what your mind tells you. Once you're ready along the resistance, you will be reminded that it's not necessary. And it's not necessary. So just a reminder to everybody, it was never necessary. They wanted to create a story and there's time space reality is the way it is because it's needed for growth and it's better. It's not. Because as we grow, as eternal beings, this stage becomes completely unnecessary. So, and the faster we grow, the higher the velocity, the higher we move away from it. And again, going back to the process between the two groups, it's not about division. Because in a way that it's about breaking away from this kind of time space reality where things are too dense because as an eternal being as a whole, as consciousness, we're ready to have something different. And those few people who are still stuck in egotistical delusions of their ego trips, they'll be following they'll fall away to another time space reality where it's not gonna meet anymore. We will not meet again. So, it's good in a way, but you're still here though. The separation hasn't happened, and it's gonna be separated because there will be a fork where you choose your new reincarnation voice. Doesn't have to be in this time space reality anymore. Thank goodness. And again, going back, you don't want to be stuck in the egotistical loop of being a sore loser. If you lose, you lost. You have to be able to come to that. And what is losing? Losing in the eye of an egotistical person is always the physical. You lost because time has the awareness that he lost, or it is not the same as losing in the real world, which is the spiritual world, where it matters the most to most people. A lot of people are what we call sore losers, and they will cause you damage. They'll try to find a way to get away with causing the damage, stealing from you other delays in their heads because they're viewing things from the evil in their heads. They want, when in reality, everybody sees it clearly that they didn't. And you can't tell them they lost because they're so blind. They're blinded by their ego and their fears and their physical life. They are so blind that they don't even know or truly believe or truly understand. So every belief is in knowing. Actually, when you know, you know. That the unseen world is the real world, and the physical is just the results of what happened there. Then they try to push the physical reality against the unseen world's decision. while they can slow down the process. That's why I say this density is slower and this physical reality is slower because of people like that. Because there's people who can't see what we see, and there are people stuck in their egos. So they try to cause and create more chaos using the physical world, the physical systems that we have against people because they want to literally go against God's will, creation's will, the universe, whatever you want to call it, because they don't have the ability or the knowing that the unseen world exists and what's happening there. So they could slow things down, like slow happenings down. That's why everything is happening slowly because there's many physical forces resisting God's will. And that's why I say a lot of times you can pray to God and sometimes you don't have God's answers because God's answers a lot of times comes to the people and people are not listening to God, the universe, they're not in touch with the unknown. So they are not answering their calling because they're stuck in ego. They're stuck in the physical reality. Remember what I said in my last video? You're either going to let your light take over the body or this physical reality will take over your light and your light's going to be so dim. Maybe you forget you are light. Then you try to look at everywhere else because you can't find it in you. And a lot of people and they will ask like they have demonic possession and if you go into demonology is very they have different demons. You can name whatever demon you want. Jealousy has a demon, the narcissists have like 3 or 4 demons attached to them. However, it makes it easy for you to understand. But it's true. They do slow down the process of things moving forward because of their lack of knowing, their lack of faith. And many of them call themselves religious, which is funny. That's why I'm completely against religion. Many of them call themselves religious because they want to tie themselves to a title to something that makes them claim that I am with God or universe. This term is God because religion. But I have zero connections with the unknown, which is God's territory, if you want to talk about religion. And they live in fear, which attracts many fearful people to religion because of the title. When true faith walks alone, without foundations, without churches, without titles, without books, it's you and God, supposedly, if you're truly faithful. So, universe, you can call it whatever you like. It's same thing. But the most faithful don't need a title or a religion attached to themselves because they know. And that's all they need is to know. And that's the division. It exists because we're seeking for faster progress. We're seeking to accomplish things in one lifetime. We're no longer seeking to take generations to make changes and having to come back and reincarnate God knows how many times to make one thing move. We want to see it in one lifetime in this body because we can. Because that's called evolution, that's called evolving progress, closing the gap between the 3D and the 5D, between spirit and matter. But certain people, they are resisting that because they are afraid. And most of those people are usually just afraid of changes. That's why they stick so dearly to religion because it's all about remember. Before there was religion, there was paganism. And they held that. That's why then they call that, what they call that, what the demo worshipping or something, they call that demonic or something, where there's so many religious people attached to demons. Like being is not about religion. It's about you and how you process this world and if you can your relationship to the unseen. Where's God's territory, universe itself? Where a lot of people they want to cling on to religion because religion gave them that fake title, that fake I am in church. Therefore, I'm with God. That's not what it means to be with God or the universe or having a relationship with the unseen. You don't need a religion. That was my overall religion because it gives them a false sense of entitlement when relationships, like any relationships, so in order for it to be truthful, they're earned. You work through your relationships. It's the same thing. You gotta work with your relationship to the unseen. There's internal work, and then there is relationship works that if you're in a relationship that's fake, it's not gonna last because it's fake. I don't know how to put it. People who are seeking truth or authenticity, they know the difference between a fake relationship, but we see many, and the difference between a truthful one because it's so rare, which brings back the attention to society or humanity, the world, human beings. Wow, there are so many beings that are choosing by choice. Remember, choices are important to be as far away from love, from unity as possible because they're so fearful and they don't want changes, like positive, either not bad changes. I'm not saying let's kill people. I'm saying let's unify. There's a light within yourself. It's called alchemizing. How do you alchemize your shadow? And you alchemize the duality of shadow and light and you unify them. So just setting back on the focus, and it's possible, even though this time-space reality is it's like a duality, the process of transmutation is to unify the duality of this world. And inside you and outside you, because as within, so is without. Zamba, so the law, etc. I hope this was inspiration. I know they have in such in the format in such more on the transmutation process, but Paulo Coelho's book is very good on The Alchemist. So my favorite books, another great book. They had an audiobook too for free on YouTube. I found it. So if you want to learn the process about amazing, it's a complete internal process. So again, you absolutely have your own creativity, dive in deep inside internally, and learn how to alchemize. And then it goes back to my previous videos talking about how to build a tolerance for pain. It's alchemizing pain. That's how you become tolerant to pain. You learn how to alchemize the pain and process it and start, the process of love right away. Because you don't want to need pain forever because you're just going to attract more. You want to deal with the pain, get it over with, and try to move on. And sadly, the enemy, which are the people I just spoke about, were acting through the people I just spoke about. They will try to target. The more you alchemize, the more you depending where you are, right? If you're in a dense environment, get out of it as soon as you can. Go to a lighter environment, and you can tell the energy of places once you become sensitive or once you learn, the unseen world, which is very energy based. If you are in a dense place area, dense people surrounded by those kinds of people, they will target you. for just being able to optimize things so quickly. They look at you as a bright target. So luckily I'm not in that race anymore, but sadly they decided to take it upon my children. These are very hateful people. Um, and remember, our children are the future. So I understand people who don't like other people's children. It's not your own. I like children and pets and animals, but I'm more in my heart than most people. But at least your own children. I'm assuming you would. It's your legacy, it's your seed in this world. So the fact that so many people show this connection to their own children, to their own seeds in this world, your own legacy, shows the division. So for them to take it upon their children, that means that they're those kinds of people. Because to take it upon children, innocent children, because you had identical issues, it's nasty. Like, you're a nasty piece of shit human being. You're not even human. I don't even want to call these people human. That's why we're going into the separation, where those people who reincarnate in a much darker world, where we will not be seeing them again, and we'll never see them again, thank God. But we're still here, so we still have to live with one another while we're still here. And it's devastating to see that people people maybe they even like in your family who do this would use children as a means for people to go petty unsettled scores. And remember, the children are the seeds of this world. If we're mistreating children and we're abusing children and we're not, I'm not saying spoiled children. Children do need structure, but it's a balance between structure and love. So you don't create future narcissists, future psychopaths into our society. And it's sad that we're having a society, for example, like places like Florida, where they support the abuse of children, where they support, these kinds of behavior towards children, where they support telling lies just so they can fuck over my children because they don't like me. Personal vendetta against me, but they can't go towards me, so they are my children. They try to cling on to anything they can, even if it's gonna screw you over for even a little bit. That's how petty and disgusting and nasty these pieces of shit are. So it's a reminder that, again, accepting where you are in life from my last video, we have to accept that those people exist. They're not gonna go away because you close your eyes and said, bad people don't exist. No, they do exist. They could live with you, and they haven't manifested themselves yet. Remember, I made another video about narcissists when we start. It's a slow process. They throw punches, then they hide. Because remember, these are cowards. No one who needs to use children to go after you are heroic. Anyone trying to fuck children over to get back as to an adult because they couldn't go face to face with the adult shows what a bunch of cowards they are. I mean, they starting getting dozens and hundreds of people to gain stock on one person already shows you're weak. If you need hundreds of people to gain stock, come at me and all that bullshit, because you couldn't come deal with me face to face, shows what a little dick coward you are. And we are dealing with what I call the little dick syndrome. It could be women. I don't know if it applies in the vagina, but it's a little dick issue. And it could be men and women. It's both. It's not. I use the little dick because of a song. It's for a song from the 90s. The little Little Leaner, Little Dick, Short Dick Man, something like that. It's a great song. It's hilarious. Nine in music, great. But it's true though. I use that term not from the Sundays, use Sundays too, wisdom in the 90s. But it's a little dick evil syndrome that I call. Because you have a little dick evil. Right here in sexual, you have all these fears, you're still in the evil and can't grow out of that. Evil sadness. You can't grow. Therefore, you must make everybody else your problem. Make them a problem. Instead of you facing yourself as much as you can to eliminate outside problems. No, you made everybody the problem because it's never you. So that's why I went inwards first. I wanted to make sure I wasn't the problem. So I got myself out of the situation. I got out of there and they didn't stop me all across the country. So that's when I know it's not me. It's them. Because why are you stalking me? Why are you gang stalking me? I left it behind. I let you go, like took off. But they won't. They can't let you go. Because it's ego and pettiness at the end of the day. If you remove yourself from the equation and you're like, that's it, you don't have a reason anymore because I'm not even there anymore. And they follow you, they gang stalk you, they try to fuck you over no matter what. You come to the logical conclusion it's not you because I remove myself from the equation, so it's them, clearly. So remember to not lie to yourself and be denial. Evil people do exist, and we do share this world with them. And you need your shadow. Remember, feelings not just love and light and high, and because we have to remember this is a physical world. So you need your shadow from the physical part of this world. That's why your ego exists. I'm not saying in your ego and death, your ego dies. It doesn't die. It surrenders. There's a difference. It's called the ego and death because the ego no longer acts like I'm the boss. It knows it's not the boss. So the dynamics, your internal dynamics change. So they call it death of the ego, but it's not because the ego dies. You cannot die in the sun space reality. Maybe in the next one it won't exist, but in this time space reality it still renders. So just want to put that out there. I hope this clarifies a little bit more. And I can go in their depths in the subject matter. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. Please do your YouTube channel and my Venmo Cash App. If you want to support my channel, it's always in the description of any videos I have. This is a new channel. Like, subscribe, etc. Thank you so much.